we're in an industry where people respond to change. People are anxious to turn the page. And listen, I got people on this line that are all smart and experienced. Does everybody remember when they started putting computers in and guys quit? Or when they went to leasing and guys couldn't handle it and they quit? We adapt and we change.
Well, welcome into Facts, Not Feelings. We are back. We've had a couple of weeks where we haven't been doing like actual live shows, but we are back and I would say we're better than ever because I've got Larry Feldman to my side here, my partner in crime. And boy, he is forever my partner in crime with me. I'm super, super excited to have him here with me. So I am Brooke Furniss, your host of Facts Not Feelings. And what are we doing today, man? Have you ever wondered, like, hey, what's happening behind the scenes when we go to these conferences? And for me, I couldn't be in two places at once. I went to Women in Automotive. My partner over here, Larry Feldman, who's with Career Changers USA, and he is by far definitely Career Changers. We're going to say worldwide at this point. He was at NIADA, and so we are breaking it down. You're going to get the good, the bad, the ugly, all of it, of what our experiences were. So we're going to jump right into this day. And we've already got Peter coming in the comments. We got Brian Ortega coming on in the comments. So we're going to break this down. I'm super, super excited. Before we do this, as always, you all know the drill at this point. Share this, comment on it. Let someone know because there are so many conferences. Sometimes you just can't get to you can't get to the conference. Like, man, I will all along, like last year, I was like, man, I'm going to NIDA. I'm super, super stoked. And then there were two conferences at the same time. I was like, but that's why I've got you, Larry. That's why I've got you. So,
and by the way, Brooke, the little thing you run before the show with Nathan, for anybody listening, it's absolutely honest advertising. I happen to know Nathan personally, did wonderful things for him. I was just a little offended when he referred to me as a cartoon character, but short of that, it was a strong endorsement for Brooke.
Oh, the crazy thing is like, so I was putting that video together, you send off to your giggy partners and kind of what you do. And they came back with Nathan, and my oldest brother is Nathan. I was like, good choice of character name. Let's go with this. So it worked out pretty well. But I'm really, really excited when I do these recaps because every conference is different. Some are better than others. But regardless how the conference ends up, there's so much time and energy that goes into these conferences. And so it's really, really great, I think, to have the recap to say, okay, is that one I need to put on my list? Is that one that's going to benefit me? Is that, okay, who's their main target audience for that? So let's jump into this real quickly and just kind of go with our main takeaways. So because you are the guest of honor, Larry, and well, you're the guest of honor wherever you go. Let's be honest, you really are. Let's jump in with like, let's start with your like number one, not maybe any order per se, but what was one of your takeaways from NIDA? Because you were on a panel, I was on a panel, I was speaking, you were doing your thing, and I know people were eating out the palm of your hand. So we'll start with yours.
Let's go with this. You started off. Yep, as you can see there, we have Sean Armorer and the great Don Brady and Wendy Reeves and Ian and Jeff, Ian Nethercott and Jeff Polo from the Auto Hub show. They're on, two Canadian guys that are just fabulous, that are on every Monday, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Great, great show. I happen to be in the middle. Danny Zaslowski, Terry Tortline, really a heck of a panel. But the decision you make when you go to these shows is the same decision you make when you go to work or you approach any relationship. Because I think positivity is a choice. I tuned into one of Brooke's shows and I thought I was watching a slasher movie because she spent a half an hour talking about the horrible eye surgery she had, where the guy went in with the scalpel, and the anesthesia wore off, and now she can't play sports. So this is not a depressed person. This is somebody that every day has so much energy and so much vitality because what she's doing is she's looking forward, not backward. So wherever you go, whatever you do, if your decision is, I'm going to meet, I'm going to have fun, you're there. Because I think a lot of people go to these conferences and it's almost like an annoyance. I got to go to a conference. No, you go into it. You only have to meet one person or learn one thing and everything else starts to make sense. I have a bunch of takeaways. First of all, with the panel, it was about vehicle buying centers. And I happen to be from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. We don't break for Dallas Cowboy fans. We throw snowballs at Santa Claus. Um,
Very
so
true.
let me quote two great Philadelphians. Actually, the greatest Philadelphian and another really good one, Ben Franklin and Jerry Butler. Ben Franklin said, "When you're finished changing, you're finished." I know that sounds like a Steve Jobs quote, but that's my boy Ben. Most accomplished human being that ever lived. Don't call me and debate it; you'll lose. And Jerry Butler, who unfortunately, besides Brooke being very attractive, she's very young, so she has no idea who the hell this is. She knows Kanye West, but not Jerry Butler. It's very sad. Jerry Butler was called the Iceman, and he wrote a great song called "Only the Strong Survive." Um, Basically, you had a lot of dealers that said, "I can't get cars. Let me go to the auction and get clubbed like a baby seal and pay so much money that I better hope I get somebody that just hit the lottery to buy it." And then you have people like Danny Zaslofsky, David Long, people, Patrick Gabe, people all over the country that said, "You know what? Nature abhors a vacuum. I'll find a way to get cars." So the whole vehicle buying center thing was how you engage people. We talked about the fact that in this one instance, it's less the process, even though you need a super process, than the people you choose, because they have to understand it's the 880 rule, where calling them once or twice is not going to make it work. And that you have to have the four prong approach, where you call them, you text them, you email them, and you send them a video. So we got into the weeds with, this is how you do this. And what's always so interesting to me is how resourceful we are as a group, and how, well, certainly every dealer on earth has tried to undercut the guy down the block and vice versa. It's the real world. But how inevitably, how supportive we all are of each other. You know, how we support and we're willing to share ideas. That's why on so many programs, yours, so many you find, people share ideas freely. Now, in a dealer 20 group, it's a little easier because I've been in them, because one, nobody's within 50 or 100 miles of you. So you're not stealing my idea, I'm not stealing yours. We're sharing it because we're not competing. But you get a bunch of guys, they could be in the down the block, and they're willing to share information. So in an industry that's always maligned that we're crooks, we're bandits, we're pirates, I love the fact that we share, that we're perfectly willing to pump up the other guy, and how forward looking we go, um, in that direction. So I really love the fact that so many dealers approach this with an aggressive, proactive stand. I love the fact how we share, and I love the fact that maybe now I can get you to listen to some really cool soul music. It's all coming together for me. What did you think of women in automotive?
Well,
It sounded. I saw pictures of you. You looked great. You looked like you had a dynamic group of women on that panel.
yeah, we did, and Steven's coming in here saying, as you said, that only strong survive. Don't go all around with your head hung down. Only the strong survive, and it's really true. And a couple of kind of what you're saying
That
here.
was, by the way, that was Steve Apicella, who is a brilliant and accomplished
Oh,
businessman. Unfortunately, when he and I get drunk together, we talk about the Civil War. We look more backward than forward, but it's what you get when you got historians that are in the car business.
and Steven, anytime Steven opens his mouth, like just gold is coming out of it. Like he's such a brilliant. So if you don't know Steven, every time.
Stephen Apicella is not only a gentleman, he is brilliant. And the reason that I love him almost as much as I love Brooke is we got on a show together, and man, you got to be smart to keep up with Stephen.
Yes.
And he said 114 really intelligent, nerdy things that I'm like scribbling my notes. I can't read my own handwriting. And then somebody said, "But how do you handle people that would not cooperate?" And I said, "At an electric cattle prod." I think the guy and Steven are still laughing. So that kind of bonded us together.
That sounds about right. There'd be like a lot of intellectual words being, spewed, and you're like, how can I stir the pot and make them laugh? It,
Life's
it's
too, Brooke, I tell it to I just taught a dynamite class with over 20 people in Virginia. If you're not going to have fun, why show up?
it's
Right?
very
Thoreau
true.
said, I know I'm going back to the other century now. Thoreau said, most men lead lives of quiet desperation, and women too by proxy. Turn the damn volume up.
It's true.
You're here
And
for a short visit. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but Stephen Apicella got me crazed again. Go ahead.
Thank you, Stephen, for getting him off track. It's very easy to do. You're talking, it's red shiny object. Where's it going? Where's it going? Where's it going? Squirrel. So no, and this is one of the reasons why I love you so much. And Larry, a little plug for Larry's. He's got a book called Inner Moron Demons. And it's like, it just kind of fits.
Wait,
like
whoa. Inner moron demons, how to avoid them and how to live your best life.
Well, I just shortened it for that. But yes, that's the rest of the
show. Give me a break, will you, lady?
I think I know my show, but thank you very much for that. So a couple of takeaways. I'll dovetail into some of the things you said that you mentioned about. I'll say, in my words, it was about the collective victory, and that's one thing in particular I thought was for me is that was really we honed into a lot was the conference promoted the spirit of unity and reinforcing that one person succeeds, it's a win for everyone in the industry. And so often, especially I'd say like with females in general, that we're so quick to be like, yeah, well, why was she promoted? Or, and Carrie Pash did a phenomenal job with this. She did a really good job talking about this, and so did Katie Mayers. But just in general, like, hey, why is it we're so quick to judge? And it was just like, hey, let's really work on what when one of us succeeds, man, we all succeed, and stop bickering and wondering and judging and talking about it. Like, no, it's all of us. So on that same thing is that, hey, as I looked around the room, it was so cool to see that the future is female, man. It was just really, really cool to see that. And I'm actually going to throw out some video here. It's just a nice little video collage here of just this is just like, there are so many, and not only females, because we need that male counterpart to that as well. As you saw, obviously there were a lot of females, but you've got males.
Wait a minute, go back one slide. Go back one slide.
I don't know that I can, sir. I'm going to have to probably
it looked like the guy next to you with the beard.
Gary May.
That isn't a woman, right? Because I'm very confused with the gender fluidity we have in our society.
No, so like I said, so Gary May's actually and Joe Webb, they're both on the Council of Women in Automotive, and it's going to take all of us in order to move this industry forward. So often you get caught up just thinking it's all about women. No, you need the male counterpart. Yes, while I am a female, I very much most of my friends are guys. I have a lot of guy friends. You got Thomas Acerado, you've got Zach. There's so many amazing males that are in this industry, and it's going to take them to also move the females in our industry forward. And that's what was so cool is that there were guys there as well. Just like, hey, once again, let's champion this effort, which was, once again, I want to reinforce that once again, is it takes both of us. Katie Mers does a good part in her one of her chapters in her books, and it's she plus male. It's she male. I can't. I'm going to screw it up now, Katie. But talking just about that, and it's really, really true. If we think that we can just do it on our own, we can't. It takes both of us. So I really love seeing that there weren't obviously it's women automotive, so it's going to be dominated by women. But there were so many just amazing women there, and with that, what was cool as well is that I saw more people there that I'd never seen prior, which was really cool as well. Like, I go to a lot of conferences, and I saw so many people I had never seen ever. I was like, wow, that's a new face. That's a new face. That's a new face. That's a new face. And to me, that was really, really cool just to kind of to see that as well. And we've got, like Gary May. It was great to have you. Oh, thanks, Gary. Appreciate it. And Gary is definitely not a woman.
I'm glad we cleared that up. These podcasts are very important informationally. By the way, you mentioned the people, and it's everywhere, that spend a disproportionately part of their day complaining and moaning about other people. Resentment is like taking poison and waiting for the other person to die. And as far as women's role, Bruce Springsteen is a liar. He likes to call himself the boss. He ain't the boss. Mrs. Springsteen is the boss.
This is very true.
Women influence 80% of the buying decisions and buy 60% of the cars. And when they come in a dealership, they feel like they're in a strip club. They get told, honey, sweetheart, asked on a date. Are you coming back with your boyfriend or husband? So anybody that's
you need to call your husband about this? Yeah.
Yeah. Brooke, I send people out, as you know, to mystery shop to say they're looking for a car for their sister that just had a baby, to show how many people in our industry foolishly don't engage. Don't say boy or a girl. Congratulations. Is it her first? You know your sister better than I do, but let's get her something safe for the baby. But it's crazy. Every once in a while, a woman comes in the next because it's I have it in between the 2 day classes. She'll say, Larry, you were saying how we don't get treated right, meaning women said, I went in with my boyfriend, my husband, whatever, just to go along because like this is my assignment. Well, okay, we'll get some food after. And the salesman starts talking to him and he points to her and said, no, no, it's for her and her sister. And he still keeps talking to her. And
Yep.
she came back to me and said, just how stupid are some men?
Yeah.
So to not grasp, again, this is so perfunctory and so simple, but sometimes the simple things are the simplest to overlook. I always say, who do you give a card to when they come in? Everybody. Wife, husband, and the kids. You want the kids to feel involved. You don't want the husband to feel excluded. Some guys haven't worked in a year, they feel emasculated. And if we don't respond to them, they think even a car salesman doesn't respect me. And we're right at the bottom of the trust level with politicians and drug dealers.
Yep.
And you always give the card or offer to the woman first. Because if you turn her off when you walk away, you know what she says to her husband? I don't like this guy. Let's roll. Right.
$1.4 trillion. Well, that's with a T. That's how much revenue we as females control. So, like, one of the things
Wait a
that
minute. I got excited when you said that number. I thought that's how much NADA was going to pay me not to speak this year.
yeah, probably that might be billion. But I say that, but it's like, that's why it's like, do we really understand and comprehend the power that we have? And you hear that number, and that number is so large that it is really difficult to understand. And so one thing not only I spoke about that so many you heard over and over again was like going and saying, okay, knowing that that's also very true is the authentic, that one is very true, but going into the knowing your worth if I can find this here, that'd be really great if I could find this here. And for some reason I can't find it right here. But knowing
If
your
you're
worth.
if you're losing it, if you put, I could shut the light off and do some shadow puppets. If that would help me.
Yeah, it's up here somewhere. But more or less, just knowing your worth and how important it is, and because of whether it's there are so many stats out there to reiterate how important the female consumer is and how important it is to have females in your business, whether it's automotive or anywhere else. But knowing that message just resonated over and over again. And as a business owner, that is something that's I've had to continually revisit and think, okay, wait a second, Brooke, do you really know your worth? Like, are you undervalued? And especially
Brooke,
as females.
I got to interrupt you only because I didn't know you were going in this direction. This is not a shameless plug for me. I started doing, and I promise I'll jump right to it. I started doing a podcast with Brian Maxwell. Brian Maxwell, for anybody knows, 6'5" African American trainer, great guy. He saw some of my stuff and he really liked me. I saw some of his stuff and he called me up and he said, I saw Lethal Weapon. Okay, I'm going to be Danny Glover. You're going to be Mel Gibson. And of course, I protested. Mel Gibson is a short, crazy guy. And then I had to shut up because self-realization crept over me. The point is, we've been doing a lot of crazy shows because, as you know, I have horrible ADD and I tend to wander. But the topic of the one 2 weeks ago was the imposter syndrome and how many of us feel like we don't really deserve it. Do I really worth it? Should I get this check? And when we don't feel our self-worth, we're not willing to acknowledge how good we are, and we hold back, or we're afraid to ask for what we want. And in the case of women, because the industry's always been so dominated by men, and a lot of them were really insensitive and ridiculous, and I mean ridiculous, that a lot of women may feel put off.
Mhm.
Because often, sometimes when things fail, if you're bad people, they could care less. They could burn the building up and not call them. But
Yeah.
good people tend to take it on themselves. When anything goes wrong with anything I'm doing, not only don't I point the finger, I lay awake all night going, what did I do wrong? What could I
Yeah.
have done better?
How could I have improved? What could I have
Yeah,
done
and
better? Because
women
we're the
and
hardest on ourselves.
yeah, and women are way more nurturing than men. It's just the way it is biologically, right? I'm a biblical scholar. It's like if God had come to Adam and said, "You will be with child," he would have probably said to God, "No, I want to play softball," and then 8 other guys let her do it. She's in the garden with a snake and an apple. I'm pretty sure that's how it's written in the Bible. I might have taken a slight liberty, but I am a car salesman.
Yeah, a little bit.
The point is, if you don't believe in your capabilities, not only can't you ever get what you deserve, you can't give your customer what you deserve. Because if you're not fully vested and believe in something, how are you going to get somebody else to believe in it?
And I think is not think, it's fact not feeling. I can speak from experience on this and I speak for others as well, is that even when you know, let's say you know your worth, and this happens especially with females, and this is something we spoke of as well, is okay, I know that this product exact or X, or hey, the car's worth this, or our service is worth this. But you go into that knowing, hey, I'm going, okay, this is the price. But then because you're female, it's like, oh, I'm gonna back off that a little bit. No, like, no, this is what it's worth. This is what you're worth. Do not back off of it. You know what it's worth. So stop backpedaling on that. Because you're female, there's a lot of times, not all the times, but there's this automatic, well, I can take advantage of that.
It's not just
No.
women, Brooke. I noticed when you had Gary Mays on, that feminine side was coming through, and he looked a little insecure. Don't worry, Gary. Help is on the way.
Gary, we love you, Gary. Don't listen to Larry, Gary. Okay, let's bring this back here.
So you see, I'm on her show, and what does she say to people? Don't listen to him. I don't know how he got on here.
Gary, I love you. All right. So one of the things in particular is that as we talk about this, that also goes into the big one for me in particular is use your voice and speaking for change. Is that one thing, especially for me, is that we think a lot of, not think, is that, oh, I'll just stay quiet. Oh, if I don't say anything. Well, you know what? If you don't use your voice, no, your silence is not going to drive change, but your voice is going to. So speak loud, speak proud, and speak with the intent to have change. Because if we just go around and think, oh, someone else is going to do it, I'll just stay quiet. No, speak up. Whether when I started in the industry, I was the only female. And yes, we've gotten a lot further. But the same thing as guys, like guys, speak up. Whether it's for your female counterpart or for your guy counterpart. Like there's so much change that continually happens that needs to happen. But if we don't speak up, it's not going to happen. And we got Steve, are the real fugitives performing this holiday weekend? Well, that's actually a very good question. We're going to divert real quickly.
Stephen, we just finished a new CD. I will certainly get you a copy. I know you're a fan of music and a fan of mine. God bless you. So we'll wrap that up. We're playing a couple private parties, and then we're going to do a couple shows in New Hope, Pennsylvania. But I'll keep you, all apprised of that. And thank you for asking. Steve and I had an incredible meeting in the Jersey Turnpike. It was supposed to be a half an hour meeting. I think for 3 hours we hung together, and boy, did we have a good time.
And Peter, this is like
wait. You said women and standing up for change.
Yeah.
Brooke, your head's wrapped around every important subject, and I kid you, but I love you and respect you. How much do you know about, I'm not being facetious, the civil rights movement?
For women or you mean women in general? I know a fair amount.
Okay, well, let me throw something at you may already know.
Okay.
The trigger for so much of what has happened for the good with civil rights was started by a woman named Rosa Parks.
Mm-hmm.
Rosa Parks did not get up in the morning and say, I'm an activist.
Nope, she did not.
Rosa Parks worked her butt off and said, you know what? I'm just too tired to get up, even though they want somebody else of a different color to take my seat. Now, the reason that this is so incredibly vital and urgent, besides that she took a courageous stand, is that they drafted a young preacher in to lead the movement who did not want to do it. He was really comfortable being a preacher. You might have heard of him. His name was Martin Luther King. And they kind of forced him into it. I'm good with what I'm doing. You talk about world-changing events, and because you're only as free in a society as the least free person. Because if they can do it to them, they can do it to you. So it can be a subtle thing, it can be a big thing. We all influence someone, and we don't know what the influence we have on them is going to ripple out to all the other people. So it's just so much better to stand up for what you believe in and go along. If not, you just get one disaster compounded, right? Back to Dr. King, for evil to flourish, good people merely need to do nothing.
And if you didn't know, Larry
will be a quiz right after the show. So
I was going to say, it's Larry. You don't know, Larry is like just a quote book. So is Stephen, by the way. So you guys are just both like, I just sit back and like, I haven't heard that quote. Need to write that down. Thank you very much.
Did you hear that, Stephen? She loves Gary Mays, but she thinks you and I are boring. I don't even know how I got on this show.
I just said you're a quote book, and I write all your quotes down. What are you talking about? But I do want to go with that one. Like, I've got multiple things that I took away from the conferences, and one thing in particular I really liked about women in automotive was the the fact that there were, I'm going to say authentic voices. What I mean by authentic voices, you're probably thinking to yourself, oh, so they spoke from the heart, Brooke, or oh, they didn't lie. What I mean by authentic voices is that a lot of times you go to conferences and it's a paid to play space that, oh, I have to sponsor something in order to be on the stage. Oh, I have to throw down, a significant, my first unborn child in order to speak. That was not women in automotive. It was, hey, we know that so and so has something to offer and that they would be a really good asset to the conference. So I really, really applaud women automotive for doing that. There's not a lot of conferences that will take that stance. And I since cannot applaud that offer of that enough. The fact that they're like, hey, you would be a good speaker. You'd be good, and so you got way different perspectives. And it was people that you just don't normally. I'll say it's not the normal talking heads you see at conferences. So I was a big, 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 big fan of that one. Big, 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 big fan. We talked a lot about women in automotive. Let's go back up to NIDA. Anything else you want to add that we haven't talked about NIDA, and then we can come back to women in automotive.
Yeah. So much of what was discussed were the topics that were there, such as AI.
That's your favorite topic, by the way, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, I'm just so tired of Glenn Pash and Brian Kramer calling me in the middle of the night. Larry, what do you think? I always tell them the same thing: shut it off and kick it. And if it doesn't work, then I would buy another computer. Um, how the challenges of AI? You know, anything can be used properly, and any tool can be neglected. So there was a tremendous amount of discussion as to the role AI will play. Um, Being open-minded, anything that can disseminate information more quickly is important. Um, I'm a reader. That Brooke was kidding around, but I mean, I'll read anything, anywhere. I love to read. I'm lucky in that sense. But I got to tell you, it is a pleasure when I'm really trying to find a piece of information that I can Google it or I can do this. The downside of this is who is putting the post up? Because, listen, way before we got to AI or computers, the decision was made by whoever wrote about a subject as to what the subject would determine. You could write anybody as a positive, you could write anybody as a negative, right? They say whoever wins the war, they get to write what the facts are or they aren't. So you could have had a novel, many, many years ago about what a wonderful guy somebody was because he was rich and he was a creep. Um, RFK is scaring the hell out of Joe Biden, which just makes me thrilled to death because you said that 1.4 trillion earlier. For anybody that doesn't know, that's the exact amount the Democrats want to spend on a study to see if they're spending too much money. At any rate, here's a guy that grew up a little spoiled, a little, disattached, and woke up one day and said, "Wait a minute. There's people out there that really need me." And his personality changed 180 degrees. And he really became somebody that would have been a hell of a leader if tragically he wasn't assassinated right after Martin Luther King. John F. Kennedy, his fidelity wasn't the strongest, right? He was having sex in the pool while Jackie was upstairs taking a nap. But just because of his youth and his vigor and his optimism, right? This is the guy that said we'll be on the moon by the end of the decade. We don't do it because it's easy. We do it because it's hard. But look backward with this. Wait a minute. You still there?
I'm still here. Little tech glitch. All good. All good.
That's okay. It's again, I didn't have time to prep her. I was on the phone, as I said, with Glenn Pash and Brian Kramer, but I'll take her computer part later and put it back together. And if you believe that, I'm really a hell of a salesman.
Yeah.
Long story short,
geek squad over here. Okay.
So you've got two leaders, a guy that led the country and brought great optimism, and a guy that really, I think, would have made some interesting changes. But the backstory on that is their father was one of the sleaziest guys that ever lived. Roosevelt didn't trust him. Truman hated him. When they questioned Harry Truman about him running and that he was a Catholic, believe it or not, that used to be an issue. He said classically, Truman, who's my favorite president, "I'm not worried about the Pope. I'm worried about the Pop." But the point is, who's delving into the history of John F. Kennedy's father, Joseph Kennedy? All I'm saying is, whoever decided to write about you determined whether you were a good guy or bad guy, because the people didn't know you might have been dead. It's all the approach, right? So I'm a patriot. I believe America's a great country and helps. Other people think, we're colonialists and we're all over the place influencing people. So we've always had a situation where intelligent people have to look in the mirror and say, is it right? Is it true? But what's so cool is so many car people are saying, I think I can use this, but what are the challenges? What do I have to integrate? What do I have to avoid? And I love that. And I love the fact of how optimistic we are, because whatever gets thrown our way, we're trying to figure a way to get around it. I mean, we've had some crazy, crazy times these last couple of years, right? I mean, if you think about it, how great is it that your salespeople are making a fortune and you're making a fortune? It's great until you wake up one day and the guy went, "Well, I made 92,000 last month. I only made 7. Have a nice life."
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah, it's really true. It's really true. Yeah.
everything I say is really true. It's just hard to believe because I'm out of my mind. I just wanted you to
Well,
make a note
that's
of it.
also very true, and I want to bring up Brian's quote comment here, and it's so Peter, you've got your saying here about the diaper, and it says, "Oh, come on, Brooke. The only person who wants, I just pulled up here. The only person who wants change is a baby with a dirty diaper," and then goes on to say, "The motto of the car industry is we've always done it that way." And Brian astutely says, Peter, wording matters. Stop saying change. This is about personal growth. I don't know anyone who doesn't want to get better, learn, and grow. And there's a lot of truth to be said about that, Brian. It's really, really true about that. And there are some people that are very stuck in their ways, and they're just like, "Yeah, I've made all my money. I'm good. We're just going to go status quo." And when that happens, I go always to the analogy of the dinosaurs, and dinosaurs were extinct. Like that will definitely happen. So you do have those people, but by and large, people that are trying to get better, why are they trying to get better? And to Brian's comment here is, yeah, personal growth. They want to get better. Yeah, 100%. Like I was having a conversation with a good friend, Lori Halter, earlier. We're just talking in general, like, hey, if I go into a room and I am the smartest person, I need to find another room.
Yep.
How can I grow? How can I get better? I need to, if I am the biggest fish in a small pond, get into another pond. Like I constantly looking to see how I can get better, how I can grow, so Brian, that's a very, very common.
Listen, I happen to be full disclosure. Hey, Tom, it's
Hi,
Tom Klein.
Tom.
I happen to be really, really good friends with Peter Smith, who's another one of these guys that's just relentlessly
Great.
optimistic.
Yeah.
But
Great person.
he's dealt with enough dealers that they've made him insane, and he sometimes tend to paint with a broad brush. So let's just be. No, I get it. We still love you, Peter.
Yeah,
He's
Peter, we
Canadian,
know.
for
I'm
God's
literally
sakes.
Peter. I'm
Yeah.
like, Peter, we know,
Yeah.
buddy.
He's from Canada, and ever since the Canadians stopped winning all the championships there, they got very cranky with Americans. But listen, I just taught a bunch of guys uh, in a class, guys and a couple ladies, that the way you get wealthy in sales, and I bet you in a lot of businesses, is not to be slick, but is to be naive, is to be open to everything. Because man, I'm very confident in my abilities. I think I can outsell
Wait, you're
anybody at
confident?
any. Yep. And let me tell you why. There's no genius involved here. Everybody that ever got out of a car was like, I'm selling them. Everybody that I bring into a class, I'm getting them hired. Brooke, you go home, you're married, okay? Um, the people that are on this call, if you're married, if you live with somebody, we all go home having once in a while a horrible day. Horrible.
Hmm.
And they say to us, what's wrong? And we all say the same, nothing. Well, how do they know there's something wrong? Is there a neon head over your? No, it's all over our face. So when people see that you're positive and you're optimistic, so while I do agree, a lot of dealers are insane. Okay, I'm a recruiter. I charge a third of what headhunters charge, and these guys go, "You're too expensive." And I feel like saying, "Hey, stupid! Do you realize what an empty bay costs you? You should give me a check immediately. You're a moron." Of course, what I normally say is, "You're probably right, but please call me if you change your mind." Then I back up through their driveway and run over one of their service techs. It's called being proactive with business. I recommend
It's
it to
called
everybody.
job security is what it's called, actually. So
Yeah.
that's what I think it's called. But as we go on this, I want to bring this full circle here is that we're talking about kind of the same thing here. And I'm going to go on a limb and say this is probably an emphasis that you saw at your NIDA. I'll say it's your conference, but this was something that was all inclusive at Women on Automotive, was this emphasis on love. It just positivity, mutual respect, and how how may I help you? How may I help you? And just constantly, how can we interconnect each other? And I'm going to go on a limb and say that was probably maybe not to the extent that, because once again, we're a women in automotive, but at NADA, did you have that same, hey, just overall, how can we help each other and how can we move the industry forward? Was that at all any part of the conference?
It absolutely positively was as a conference. There's a picture of floating around on me on the internet, not the one where I got locked up, with me sitting next to Sean Armour, Zach McVicker, Jeff Polo, Fred Thorne, Shelly Polo, who's Jeff's wife, and Ian Nethercott. We couldn't have had more fun. You couldn't have had more support. The table behind us was Wendy Reeves, Tom Klein, and Laura Berman, and Joel Benson. Now, just to show you that she's pushing you all in the right direction, um, Brooke and I have become best friends. I mean, it's a little scary how close we've gotten in a short period of time. The only damn reason I know her or she knows me, because she's from Chicago, I'm from Philadelphia, okay, is we got on Ian Nethercott and Jeff Polo's show, the Auto Hub show, which is every Monday, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. These guys don't hustle you. They're not looking to get money out of your pocket. They're just the two most welcoming people you've ever met in your life. They talk a whole lot less than I do. So on my podcast, you better pray you get a word in edgewise. But these guys basically throw it up as a jump ball. I met Brooke. Brooke met me on the show. I did what I always do. I know this is hard for you all to believe because I'm a little reserved. Yeah, Jordan, you're right. I'll tell you Zach's story in a second.
He's awesome.
And I tortured Brooke because that's what I do. I torture people. And immediately she hung up and called Ian and said, I like the guy that just tortured me. Can I get his number? As she was doing it was like the old Doris Day, Rock Hudson split screen movies. I was reaching out and going, man, she's really sharp. It happens. As far as Zach McVicker, I had the great Thomas Citarano. What a great guy. As a matter of fact, if anybody's interested, we're going to get together later, get him drunk, and make him pronounce his own name. The guy's got enough vowels to give Vanna White a stroke. Even she'll really get a raise after that. And he recommended me to a dealer in South Carolina, Stokes Hodges Kia. I killed him, he says humbly. But I got on the phone with Zach McVicker. We must have talked for an hour and a half, which tells you, A, how incredibly dedicated Zach McVicker is, and that Zach McVicker's a lonely guy. If you're on the phone for an hour and a half with the Tasmanian devil. But he popped up at NIADA. I put him in a bear hug. He's a great guy. Here's another guy that's relentlessly optimistic. And here's a guy that's always thinking of ways to improve and to change, which is a terrific thing. So sure, the themes were common. Okay. Jeff Ravillo wants to know that yesterday was Aaron Sparks. Can we get absolutely
happy birthday, Aaron. And of course, Jeff, happy birthday month to you. Birthday month, because it was on the 12th, because I've been reminded every day since June 1st. It was your birthday on June 12th. So.
Well, not only the completists, let's pull out the local papers. Let's talk about obituaries, births. Let's just get everybody to home. You know, maybe we can pump up the show.
Yeah, don't even get me started on GA4. They're really, Jeff, you once again, nobody knows what is in this cup right now because of GA4 and GLBA. You have no idea. It's just
no. You're on with Larry Feldman. They know there's some hard liquor.
Oh well, yeah, it's clear. So it's most likely Tito's. Let's just call it like it is. It's very much. It's been one of those the months, very much so.
But it's really simple. When you've got a bunch of people that are positive and forward looking, I happen to be the luckiest guy. I know we always quote Lou Gehrig, the luckiest man on the face of the earth, after he had a disease named after him that's incurable. Hopefully in the future that'll change.
Hopefully.
But I like people. You know, I get interviewed all the time because I'm a recruiter. I interview people all the time and go, I'm a people person. You're a sociopath. What do you mean you're a people person?
Yes.
I'm sorry I'm even across the desk from you. But I really like people. I get a kick out of them. I like it when they're crazy. I like it when I'm crazy. I get to this damn NIADA, and Tom Klein and I kind of met him in Atlanta, but I had to run out to Indiana. I was doing something. Man, we just had a ball. I cannot tell you how much fun we had. And I don't mean him jealous, but as much fun as I had with him, I had just as much fun with Laura Berman. Who the hell can not have fun with Wendy Reeves and Fred Thorne? Okay. By the way, I worked it out with Wendy. If anybody does need a Santa Claus for Christmas, you ain't doing better than Fred Thorne.
No, you're not. And Steve, yes, there are promotional mugs. And I'm going to take a side note here. I have said for a very long time that the merch store is coming. It's not that I'm lying. I went through 4 promotional companies, and we are on the final stages of making the e-store merch store. So we're looking at, I think next week we're meeting. It's next week or the next week we're finalize everything. So yes, the promotional mug, yes, they are coming. We've got some really, really cool stuff. The prototypes, yeah, samples I should be getting like next week-ish. So yes, they are coming.
How cool and interesting is this? Steve Apicella is one of the sharpest guys in the car business, understands computers better than Elon Musk, and the dummy never heard of Amazon. He's trying to buy a cup from Brooke Furniss.
Well, no, it's who doesn't want this? Come on, seriously, how cool is this?
I know I want one. It'll go with the T-shirt that you never sent me.
I know. There's multiple people that I always show.
Jordan said, hit him up. Jordan, I go to Indiana a lot. When I was a dealer, I used to go to 20 groups with Doug McKibben, who is a character unto himself. That's the guy that owns Glenbrook Dodge, Glenbrook Hyundai. I was just at City, Ford, and Chevy. If you're not connected with me, connect with me on LinkedIn. If I can get some business for you or from you, I promise to be as insane as I possibly can and destabilize everything around you. I have the endorsement of Brooke.
Yes, he will. The trick is Tito's and all the yes.
No. The trick is to get off the show in an hour, because after that, my meds start to kick in.
You remember days. Oh, I love it. One thing I do, I do want to.
Wait a minute. Tom Klein just said hi to Steve Apicella. Tom,
yes.
This is not a damn dating service, okay? I'm trying to talk to Brooke Furniss.
Yeah, the show is off the rails at this point. Well, one thing I do want to connect on, because we are both at conferences that were awesome. They're fantastic, and too often we go to conferences and we think, for a lot of people, not necessarily you and I, but a lot of people are like, oh, it's just kissing babies and shaking hands. That is not what a conference is. It is networking is a community building experience. It's mutually benefiting, where we talk to someone, we build that relationship. The reason Larry and I are such good friends is not because I just saw him on the Auto Hub show and I was like, dude, this guy's freaking crazy. It's because then we continue to contact, we continue to build that relationship. And it's so important that we're making connections and that we're focusing on fostering that relationship and facilitating meaningful conversations that are benefiting the community as a whole. Like, yes, we're learning and we're seeing the newest and greatest things, and those things are really awesome and great. But if we don't continue to work those relationships, if I just said, oh, I saw him, and I'm like, hey, Larry, I need something from you. And then, oh, Larry, I need something from you. Oh, yeah, Larry, I need something from you. Why would Larry ever want to pick up that phone call? Like, all I'm doing is only reaching out when I need something, or only reaching out when I see him at a conference. Like, that's a very one-sided relationship.
It's called people forgetting about servant management, and that the more you give, the more you get. By the way, everybody, I'm really tired of Brooke showing these beautiful slides. So here's a great picture of me at the conference. This way I won't feel left out.
And I guess we're going back to the swag thing. Who's ready for Fact Not Feeling After Dark? It's been in the works for a few weeks. Am I right, Brian Ortega? Yeah, that and I think Malibu Bend as well. So don't worry. That may or may not be on a swag item. So just you wait, friends. Just you wait. Yes, it's in the works, but I think it's going to be on a swag item first. So yeah, don't. Yes, it's still there. I will also say
one other thing that we didn't talk about. Everybody has some concerns about, what's going to happen with the industry, with the cars, where are we going, interest rates, what's the EV effect. But what was so interesting is people were excited about what was coming rather than walking around filled with dread. That's probably one of the best attributes of people in the car business. Again, we said it earlier, how resilient they are. It was like, all right, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. It's the end of the world. We just seem to react to things better. And if you think about our business model, we're not worried about a year, man. We're worried about every damn month and every day, because nobody wants to have to call the owner. I was an owner and say, yeah, we only sold one, boss, or we blanked. Right? Is there everybody in this room that's been involved in a dealership that sold their grandmother a car because they didn't have the balls to call the owner and tell him you blanked. So, but the fact that we're always optimistic, that we're not saying, "Oh my God, everything's going to change and I'm going to be cooked." I can't wait to ride the wave of these changes. I can't wait
Mhm.
to be ahead of the forefront. Again, it's you go to these things if you're open minded to meeting people and checking out some new ideas. Keep in mind, every 3 to 5 years, our perception of the world changes. Now, you can have a horrible accident, somebody could die, something, but every 3 to 5 years, look back on who you voted for, what band you were listening to. It's like a different world. So to not acknowledge that while we have strong opinions, the strongest thing we can have is an open mind because
Yeah.
nothing will cost you more than having a closed mind. Nothing.
And if you and well, that goes back to like the whole listening versus hearing. If you go hold up, Brian's got something. I can't stand the word networking, so impersonal. Yes, should always call it building community. That exactly what I was going back to. Like I hear networking and I just like, God, it's building that community, exactly what you're saying. Another great book to read, 50 Coffees, How to Build Community in Your Business, One Coffee at a Time. That love it, Brian.
Now,
Absolutely love it.
Brian, sometimes networking is possible because Tom Klein was with two beautiful dancers, and I saw he wrote back to his company that he was networking. He tried to expense it. You got to stop listening to Hunter Biden.
And knowing Tom, like he's so straight laced, and Tom's like, "What? I didn't do that." But and I see it happen so often where it's either it's a conference or it's whatever it might be, and it's like, and you can almost spot it, and it's like, and I will get the text. I'm like, I don't even know who this person is. Like, how did you even get my number? And so yeah, that was something I'm really big on. The last two I'll say is that how many times you go to conferences and the food is just awful, or it's like mid grade. You're like, wow, that chicken is, I think, still bagocking, and I'm not going to do that again, so don't ask me to. I will say at Women Automotive, the food was really good, and that was something we all talked about. And we all know I love Diet Dr Pepper. They had Diet Dr Pepper, so that one. And the very last thing I'll say, I've never been at a conference where they did professional headshots, and I guess they do this every single year. So that was really cool. Like it's too often is like, hey, they cost a lot. I don't get my headshot ever done a whole lot. And so for me, that was really, really cool that they did that. So those are my takeaways. Is there anything we haven't touched on from NIDA?
Yeah, let's dial into what you just said. We go to these conferences to get better. Stephen Covey famously, one of his rules of effective people. We'll get to boxing in 1 second, Robin. I'll explain that quote. I love Robin. Said, let's start with the end in mind. Okay, so the end in mind here is how can we run our business better, sell more cars, and make more money. So if that's what we go into, and we understand that we're trying to get better, and learn one more thing or accelerate, it gets great. The reason Robin mentioned that, boy, was it a pleasure to meet. And I was going to say the headshots made the people feel special. It was
Yes.
something different. If we make these people feel so terrific when they walk into a dealership, it'll blow their mind. Now,
Hmm.
my Robin and me buddied up incredibly. Not only, if anybody doesn't know Robin, she's smart,
Oh,
she's cool, and the two
cool.
of us, I think, were the biggest boxing fans at the convention.
Love
Now,
it.
the guy they had there speaking was Sugar Ray Leonard.
Dude, that was
Okay,
so cool. You
yeah.
all are making me jealous with those photos, by the way.
Well, yeah, but you got your headshot as opposed to me, who people wanted to shoot me in the head. But that's a whole different personality conflict. Um, Robin, Robin and I started talking boxing because Leonard spoke a little, had some nice little script, and showed film. And the interesting thing is, as a boxing fan, I got to tell you, anybody that doesn't respect Sugar Ray Leonard
Mm,
is an idiot.
agree.
Because here's a master boxer that outpunched Tommy Hearns, who could hit like a truck.
Yep.
But but as a true boxing fan, I also think that we could flip that script on him, if you don't mind me real quick, Robin. Roberto Duran, in my eyes, either him or Sugar Ray Robinson or Muhammad Ali, just because how quick his hands were, is the greatest pound for pound boxer that ever lived. Now, everybody younger than me and people my age say, "Oh, you're crazy. He no must. He quit on Leonard." But there's a psychological point here we can all learn from. He fought as a lightweight 81 times. Now, the money was different then. They didn't fight every 6 months. They fought every 3 damn weeks. He fought 81 times and lost one decision to Esteban de Jesus. He came back and knocked him out twice. Now, understand this if you're not a boxing fan. Robin is. You move up a little bit in weight, that big punch you have disappears.
So
He
different.
goes from a lightweight to a welterweight. Man, I've seen a million lightweights that go to welterweight and get knocked out. Okay, wait. He beat Sugar Ray Leonard. The
It's crazy.
only reason Leonard beat him the second time, I don't care if you're Sugar Ray's mother and you call me, is Angelo Dundee, who was his trainer and Muhammad Ali's, went to Panama and they called up Sugar Ray and he said, "You're fighting again, son." He says, "Who am I fighting?" Duran. He says, "Angelo, we don't have time to promote." He says, he gained 60 pounds. Okay. He looks like a sumo wrestler. He'll never get back in shape. He didn't get beat. He didn't get knocked down. What he did was he got embarrassed. And these Latin fighters are so macho, so he waved his hand. And people said to me, he's done. How done is he? Came back and knocked out Davey Moore, and he fought Marvin Hagler to a standstill. And if you go watch the damn Hagler-Leonard fight, he did what Ali did. He flurried at the end. Trust me, you watch that and count the points. Hagler beat him. He did not beat Hagler, but once again, he was smart enough to use psychology. He flirted at the end of a round. He saw an opportunity and he jumped on it. Okay. When we had our store, we bought a ton of Chevy Corsicas for nothing. Then we bought a ton of Hyundai Sonatas. We made a fortune on everything because they had the right book. What did I like about this damn conference? What do I like about our business? You've got a bunch of men and women. I want to get the women in. They'll revoke Brooks.
You will be kicked off the show.
And she's starting to buddy up with Gary Mays. Long story. Okay. So all I want to say is we're in an industry where people respond to change. People are anxious to turn the page. And listen, I got people on this line that are all smart and experienced. Does everybody remember when they started putting computers in and guys quit? Or when they went to leasing and guys couldn't handle it and they quit? Mm-hmm. We adapt and we change. Okay. That's how a guy like me, dumb as I am with computers, runs 3 businesses off my phone. That's how a guy like Tom Klein is bright enough to use the networking thing for an expense with the 2 showgirls. I think I've done enough damage, Brooke. Back to you.
So now that you've officially offended everyone that watches the show, everyone love you. Books, music, food, boxing, history. Mic drop, Mike. Steven says. On that note.
Hey, the secret to my success is I know my stuff. 95. I'm glad I'm alive, and I have the worst case of ADD of any human being alive.
I will attest to that.
But they're afraid to go to the bathroom in my class. They're afraid they'll miss something.
It's true.
Hey, Brian, how are you, my buddy?
Windows 95. We've got Adrian Wall should check out this live. Oh, yeah. Yes. Hi. Yes.
Well, wait a minute, Jordan. No. What you want to do, and we're going to definitely hook up, man. Look me up on LinkedIn. You don't want to watch all the shows. You want to watch the replay of this show every week, because next week she's going to have a really boring, brilliant guy on talking about computer shit.
Well, I don't appreciate you calling my guests boring, first off. I have very awesome guests every single week, and I learn from them every week. They might not be as ADHD as this
Wait a minute,
gentleman.
You just texted me and said, stir the pot. Everybody knows I would never start any controversy on my own.
But Tom is saying, thankfully, there's no photos, though, so this is good. So
what do you get on Tom Sidorano's next program? He's got a surprise for you, brother. It's the first time Clubhouse is going to have graphics.
And Peter's saying in positivity and your gold. Yeah, yes. So yes, I think we've successfully you successfully offended everybody. So I think we can check that mark off. We're good there. So I probably should have had a disclaimer that anything that Larry says is not the viewpoint of me. So I want to make that very, very clear.
Well, wait a minute. But everybody had fun. And
this is true.
If we wake up in the morning and realize we're not going to live forever, and we want to make the people in front of us and the people beside us and the people we love and the people have fun, you can't lose. Because this business, a lot of this business, some of the fun's been drained out. Let's look people in the eye. Let's smile at them. Brooke, I'll shut up. I know we're getting near the end. I asked again in every class, I ask it, what do you say to the guy that says, I only have 10 minutes. I got to go watch my son play ball. And there's always one guy that stands up and goes, I can do it in 10 minutes. Only if you're a casino.
Nope.
The great answer is, What does your
What
son play? What is your
what
you might have
position?
the next Serena Williams.
Yep.
It's about making people smile. I love it, and everybody on the show loves it when they go, you know what? You're pretty cool for a car salesperson. We want
Mhm.
to find a way to get over the negativity and pull them into our crazy realm.
Amen.
By
Amen.
the way, Brooke is easy to reach. If there any is anybody I haven't offended or made fun of, please let me know. I promise I want to be complete with everything.
Yes, and no, and he will 100% find a way. So don't you fret, little one. He definitely will. He definitely will. Now, Larry, I know that you've been on the show previously, but we still have to get into the lightning round. So we'll change it up a little bit. So first and foremost, Larry's link right here is up there, and how you can find him. It's also when you scan that. Well, this one doesn't have when you type it in and find it. It will also be where you can order his book. So how can people get in touch with you? For those that are listening and cannot see the link, how can they find you?
Okay, first of all, there's this new invention that none of your salespeople ever heard of. It's called a phone. Okay. And my iPhone number is 215-407-5174. Oh, for that, you don't have a graphic, Brooke, huh? 91
I
pictures of
don't
her
have
with
that one.
yeah, 215-407-5174. I actually answer my damn phone.
He does.
You can reach out to me on LinkedIn. Paul Daly of the Greatest Soto crew called me this morning about a lady. I've already contacted her. We're already rocking and rolling. Um, and trust me, it's my pleasure to talk to anybody. I don't have to take money from you. I'll help you. I'll make a suggestion. I'll tell you a good joke. Um, and that's it. I'm easy to reach. And by the way, you have no idea how appreciative I am to be on with Brooke. I love her. I love her show. I was thrilled when she said to me, quote, can you come on the show? It's last minute and I can't get anybody good. Thank you, Brooke.
It was kind of like that, but I will second that. When he says he will pick up the phone, he will 100% pick up the phone. It is, in the time that we've known each other, there's been maybe twice you haven't picked up the phone, and one of them I believe you were flying. So yeah, he will 100% pick up the phone. So because we're going to change this up a little bit, let's first start with, in everything that you do, how are you distinguishing facts from feelings, either in business or in personal life?
I think you have to look in the mirror. It's a cliche that we're our own worst enemy, but that also means we're our own savior because life is a mathematical equation, and what you do to one side of the equation, you have to do to the other, or the equation collapses. If you're not a great person, and we all lie a little bit, right?
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
you don't lie to yourself because there's nobody there to correct you. So
Mhm.
try to understand that everybody, you said authentic voices. You know who thinks their voice authentic? Everybody. Because it may not mean a damn thing to you, but it means something to them. That's why we have to be in mind that, and I kid around with people, and thank God I don't, they like me rather than offend me. Hey, Jordan, don't be a smartass, okay? She's paying me to be offensive. But if you do text me, I'll call you back right after, my brother. So if we take a little time, there but for the grace of God go you or I. Okay, we're back to Joe South because I got my man Steven on the line. Walk a mile in my shoes. The guy who wrote like 5 or 6 monster hits in the '60s. We have to understand that these people are us. I had a salesman I almost punched in the mouth because I got along with everybody. I was the Prince of Trent, New Jersey. I sold everybody a car. I hung with everybody. I lent people money that I knew I was going to get back. And he kept calling people with bad credit, called them rats or cockroaches. Now, I'm not making this up. The really funny stuff you can't make up. Truth is
No.
stranger than fiction.
Yeah.
I pulled him aside and said, "Listen, I don't want to like get in a fight with you because you're bigger than me, but my dad taught me how to fight dirty. Would you please stop telling me how these people are rats and cockroaches? Well, they got horrible credit." I said, "Well, how's your credit?" "Well, my credit's bad, but I got divorced." Are you out of your mind? So when we stop looking at people as us, when we stop relating to people, we're not good human beings anymore, and we don't care. So I think that the key to facts and feelings is understanding that there's certain things in life. We're born, we die, in between need to fill up the time. That if you're going to sit somewhere for 8 hours, you might as well look at your watch or your iPhone and go, man, it's time to go home. What a busy day, rather than moan. That it takes longer to bitch about things than it does to fix them. And the only time I quote Eldridge Cleaver, the Black Panthers, I'd rather quote Dr. King, is if you ain't part of the solution, you're part of the problem. I hope I
Truth.
answered that.
You did. Let's wrap up with you read a lot and you're a very avid reader. What is either a book you're reading right now or your favorite book that has helped you the most on your journey to where you are now?
We had a tragic, I'll make it quick. We had a tragic instance in the last 10 years. We lost two of my favorite authors who were both named David. David Halberstam won the Pulitzer Prize for the best and the brightest. He was a Vietnam War chronicler. He wrote the most incredible car book of all time. It's called The Reckoning. It's the
Mhm.
story of Nissan and Ford, who at that point were second to GM and to Toyota, respectively. Um, he's a sports nut. He's as big a sports nut as Brooke, and I don't say that lightly. He wrote the coolest sports books of all time. If you like sports, you like baseball, get The Summer of '49. It's the year DiMaggio was hurt, and the Red Sox thought they were going to finally take it. Or The
Yeah, they did.
Game, which is probably the best basketball book ever written. It follows Bill Walton and the Blazers around the year after they beat my Sixers, but he got all shot up with painkillers. He was never the same. Um, and we lost him in a car crash. He was in Baltimore researching the greatest game ever played, was the moniker it got when the Colts and the Giants played in overtime. It was televised. It blew up football. But even worse than that, no disrespect to the great David Halberstam, last year we lost David McCullough, our greatest living historian. So to answer your question, my favorite book is Truman by David McCullough, also a Pulitzer Prize winner. Truman was the man. He's the last honest president we'll ever have because he didn't want the job. He got thrust into it. Roosevelt didn't want him. You know, they didn't figure Roosevelt would die that quick. The guy was all there. He did what he said. He did what he believed in. I'm Jewish. He recognized Israel even though people didn't want it. The Marshall Plan was the Truman Plan, but he was so unpopular at that point that he named it after George Marshall, who was the most popular military guy in the country. And if that doesn't always surprise you, all you guys that are married, he said, behind every successful man, there's a proud wife and a surprised mother-in-law. So, Truman by David McCullough. But just call me. You want a joke, you want a book review, whatever it is. If anybody wants a Brooke T-shirt, she sends them over to my house. I'll mark them up about $30. It'll give you a good upselling lesson.
I love it. I love it. Well, first off, Larry, thank you so much for being on the show and for like it was semi last minute, so I super do appreciate that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And as always, everyone, thank you for tuning in. I know that you can watch and see, and you've got multiple things that are vying for your attention. I super appreciate you always being here at noon. This probably next week or the week after that will be the new format where we're still dropping episodes. We'll drop a new episode on Thursday. Then Friday will be more of a, we'll still gonna go live, but it'll be more of like I'll say like a fireside chat type of thing where we'll discuss the episode that dropped. So just thank you. I so appreciate it. And as always, find a way to serve today. There's so much unrest in this world. Whether it's, as I always say this, whether it's opening a door, car door for someone to open a door, just a simple, kind smile. Just find a way to help someone today. And with that, everyone, we will see everybody next week.
Everybody stay healthy.
Bye-bye.